The printer cost is not how much the raw materials to make the printer is. A lot of people seem to think that. What do you think about the new Prusa Core 1? You see that?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, so this week is Formnext. Apparently they released their first non-bed slinger. Okay.
It's just, I'm pretty sure I saw comments, because I don't follow Prusa that closely, saying like, I can't believe I could turn my Mark IV into this. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Matt, bring that up.
There's a Mark IVS to Prusa Core 1 conversion kit that's $449.
So for $500, you can convert your Mark IV.
That's why I respect them.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
They are coming out with new machines, but in that situation, it's like, hey, you've already invested with us in a machine. I'm not going to make you buy a brand new machine. I feel like a lot of companies will be like, new one's out, throw your old one away and buy this one.
Yep.
That's why they have such fierce loyalty.
Something you don't see in the industrial market, for sure.
Exactly.
$50,000 machines. But you're getting the latest and greatest cutting-edge technology. Why? Because
they'll pay for it?
Because they had to develop it. The printer cost is not how much the raw materials to make the printer is. A lot of people seem to think that, especially in the comments on YouTube. You know who you are. The cost behind a printer that's commercialized, that's mass-produced for the consumer market involves a lot more. You do have the raw material cost. You've got the labor to assemble it. You've got all the labor and the years and the knowledge and the development and the failures that took years to get to that final prototype and final production version. So all of that money spent, all the salaries, all the prototypes, all the electronics, all the testing, all those hours. And then you've got the packaging. But then after sale, you've got the team that supports it. You've got developing the wiki and the manuals and the documentation. And then you've got the people that you can call and talk to that'll help you fix your machine. That's a lot of the stuff that's in the cost of a printer, which is why it's $50,000, especially when it's brand new and it's a technology that nobody has ever done before and they figured it out.
I think a perfect way to relate that to something that's more easily accessible is Mercedes-Benz, if you know how much they spend on R&D. Buying an S550, what are they, 130 grand to start? You and I both know there's not 130 grand worth of steel and plastic in that car. What you're buying is the R&D that Mercedes put into that to be the latest, greatest, best thing.
And to be on the cutting edge, to have the newest one, to have the latest thing. I remember when CarPlay was new. It was like, it's at a premium, it's in the newer cars, but you didn't have it if you were in a 10-year-old car. You just didn't. But
what do you feel like is going to be the next big shift? Such a cheesy comment, the next big shift, but what changes?
AI and machine learning, hands down. 100%, it's predictability of the material behavior.
What does that look like to you?
It looks like you've got your part, you throw it into a thing. The thing has a mass database of previous experiences, previous printed parts from an entire worldwide catalog of just knowledge that on those machines that it's done. It's got the software and the algorithms to orient the part correctly, optimally, and know how that part's going to behave in whatever environment it is. And this goes for metal, this goes for polymer, this goes for liquid photopolymer resins, it goes for everything. As soon as we can get the power of ChatGPT slicing with the material properties, material behavior, not the properties, how the material behaves when it's being melted at 450 Celsius and being laid down onto another layer that's 280 Celsius, and the layers below that are 150 Celsius. All these variables in one, instead of, our expert guys out in the back going and be like, this, I've seen this before, I'm going to cool it down here because I think that's going to overheat.
No, it makes perfect sense. And you get light bulbs going off for me where, what's the problem people have with bamboo? I hate to keep bringing up bamboo, but when you print, you send it, it's going to their server and then printing. But they're getting data.
Lots of data.
So that's probably going to be the next big thing we'll see from a company like that. You're absolutely right, is what I'm saying.
There's companies already developing their platforms, right? So you got Aeon with the high-low, right? They're one of the first ones that I've seen that came out was like, hey, we're doing AI and machine learning-based slicing. It's still in its early stages. There's a few materials that are really well dialed in, and it does a great job. There's still a plethora of other materials that haven't been dialed in yet, and that's simply for lack of time and experience to document and gather all that data in order to make that machine be able to do what it needs to do. They're on the forefront of it. They've got the latest and greatest and best that is available at this time in the world, right? Now, if people complain, it's not good enough, or okay, yeah, but it's the best we got, and just, all right, come back in 5 years,
You know a lot of stuff.
I know some things.
Let's talk about this. Have you seen that? The gel printing in that vat of gel.
For like silicones and stuff like that.
They print like a purse or a handbag or something, and it's just floating in gel.
So what I've seen from those, there's different types of different materials. The majority of them have been a limitation of the material itself. So like silicone, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be in liquid form. It'll droop and do stuff if you just leave it, but it needs to cure or whatever. And so they do it in that vat because it's just floating in space.
Yeah.
And so they figured it out for that. Something I really want to see one day is going to be ultrasonic levitation.
I was just thinking that.
With lasers. So you take the powder and it's just it can form the powder in the areas it needs to be, hit it with a laser, it solidifies. I have no idea how this is work or going to work, but I think there's a couple patents pending for it right now.
Yeah, just basically using an array of ultrasonic speakers and frequencies. I think you could basically move things around and suspend it, and then if you hit that with a laser and center it, then
I mean, there's sound vibration, right? But now there's all this stuff coming out with frequencies and everything else like that. And there's a lot of there's electromagnetic frequency, there's magnetic frequency, there's all sorts. And so what we're actually going to be using in 10 years could be anything. I mean, it could be stuff we don't even know exists yet.
I'm scared.
I'm stoked.
I, for one, welcome
Skynet.
our robot
Is it
overlords.
Skynet is bothering you? You're
It's
still our
amazing.
friend right now in 2024. I will say in 5-10 years, there will be more standardization. That's a big, big push in the industry, especially on the industrial
What do you
side.
mean? What does that mean?
So just earlier today, I got a call from a guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking at 3D printers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, so what do you need to do with whatever 3D printer you buy? He's like, I need to print PCFR, which is a flame retardant polycarbonate. And it has to be this brand. And I'm like, why does it have to be that brand? Because they have the UL blue card. And I'm like, and that's required already? I mean, there's only a few materials out there with that in the first place. It's so new. It's only like a year or two old. Standardization often can be a money grab, but it's also good when there's a million types of nylon you could buy. And you're like, oh, fuck, what do they put in this one? You know, so if it's a UL blue card, it's gone through certain testing and everything else like that. And so you know that what you're buying is a certain composition or whatever, and you have the paper to prove it. This is really important for mass production because you're doing a part over and over and over, thousands, hundreds, if not millions of times, and you need that consistency. So look, just give me the blue card one. But it's not really a thing yet. Like, it's still not a thing, but it's becoming a thing. So 5 years, especially 10 years. I mean, every year at AMUG and Rapid, et cetera, there's meetings on standardization in the industry. As simple as can we call it industrial 3D print? Please stop using the word industrial. A couple of years ago, one of the things, can we please not hyphenate 3D? It's just 3D without the hyphenate. Can we just make this a standard? Can we all agree? You know, I was like, wow. So that's where it's at. Yeah, it's such a new technology that was under wraps for 30 years that it's just finally, all right, we're all using it. We're all excited. Okay, now let's all calm down a bit. Simmer down now. Let's make some standards. Let's make sure we're all talking about the same thing when we say those words.
So to be clear for the audience and not for me, because I absolutely know, who is in charge of making these standardizations and what a board?
You are.
You.
So really, there's nobody.
Who is UL?
UL is just a company that said we're going to be the standards holders and we're gonna create this thing as a resource for people to use.
So they just said that we're going to be the one.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a new one called VM.
It wasn't a government appointment, you know. But
that's kind of what I'm wondering.
As they became better, now it is like required in a lot of government stuff. So who makes the rules? The guy who provides a good set of standards that people accept. So it's whoever accepts it determines who the person is, and that's the same in this industry. So UL is
that the same with CE?
No, CE is a European
God, I'm not sounding too
government
smart.
thing.
UL, though, is just literally a company.
It's a company that standardizes and certifies things that says, hey,
I'm in the
we
industry
looked at
of
it.
Standardization.
This isn't going to burn your house down because it's got the proper electrical safety.
It's JD Power and Associates.
Yeah, kind of.